Okay, so this is about 2 hours in, and you can see all the coals have fallen through to the bottom now, and it's burning up like a typical fire lay for the most part. You're going to have that in wet weather where you've got to separate everything to try to get oxygen flow in there. You're going to have that, but if you can control that fire and get it to burn up onto that ramp a little bit where you've got logs stacked, you're still going to get that longevity out of the fire. Now, I've had to move things around a couple of times here and there just to keep it flaming up good. Again, wet materials. Lesson learned, that's just the way it is. You're dealing with wet materials, you might be up a little while messing around with this thing off and on and just get sleep when you can. But you're not going to have to add a bunch of kindling to this fire. You might have to just make a couple of adjustments to get it to keep on burning really good and strong. You know, I got to tell you, it's almost impossible to sit in front of a fire and not manipulate it. That's just human nature. I don't care who you are. If you see something's not right, you're going to touch it, you're going to fool with it. It's very hard to sit here and try to film a self-feeding fire and not mess with it at all to get the true effect of it. And I ain't going to lie, I've sat here and moved a couple things around here and there, but you can see you've got two of the bigger logs now off the stack. I've came down. So it is working as a self-feeding fire. Now I have thrown a couple pieces up on top that were out here outside the area they should have been in. You can see them laying up there. I just flipped them up there to get the flames going again, back up the logs. But the precedence of this is to get that fire lay burning at the bottom, and it burns through the logs, and as they burn in half and move out of the way, another one falls down in its place. That's the theory. But if you can get a fire like this to burn for 3 or 4 hours, like I said, you're in pretty good shape. In wet weather, you're doing good to even keep a self-feeding fire going. This is really a dry weather type fire, or something that you would use for a lot bigger wood. Okay guys, well, I appreciate you joining me out here for another video today. We watched that fire for, I don't know, 3.5 hours, maybe something like that. And it's time really to add some kindling to that fire now. Fires like that can be manipulated in lots of different ways to make them burn longer, depending on the type of wood you use, how close you put your spacing together and things like that. But you have to be able to manipulate the things that are going to affect your triangle of fire. If you have wet wood and you are having issues with evaporation of that water, that's going to suck oxygen away from your fire as well during that evaporative process. So you have to give that thing some air, take advantage of that Venturi effect, which is going to make that fire burn faster once it catches fire. You have to remember those things and just deal with them as the situation dictates. The other thing I want you to remember about fire is what's called the rule of inverse squares. When you set your fire up in front of your shelter, it should be approximately 3 feet away from your shelter. That 3 foot is going to give you the 100% heat that you're going to feel from that fire. In other words, if I'm sitting at the face of my shelter and my fire is 3 feet away, I'm getting 100% of the heat benefit of that fire that I'm going to get from it at the front of my shelter. If I move back inside my shelter 3 feet, I'm only going to get 25% of that heat that I felt at the front of my shelter. If I move 3 feet further back, I'm only going to get 25% of that 25%. So you don't have to get too far away from a fire, even if it's a good size one, before you stop getting benefit from the heat of that fire, depending on the size of the fire, of course. But again, the rule of inverse squares works no matter what, no matter how big the fire is. The further you get away from it, the less and less heat you're going to feel, and it is exponentially more by square root the further and further you get away. That's the purpose for getting that fire so close to your shelter. So think about those things when you're building a fire for your shelter as well. I'm Dave Canterbury at the Pathfinder School. I appreciate you joining me for this video. I thank you for everything you do for me, for my school, for my family, for everyone affiliated with the Pathfinder School and Self-Reliance Outfitters. I'll be back with another video as soon as I can. Thanks, guys.